My summer grant supported an ongoing research project that combines traditional archival scholarship and the use of sophisticated and cumbersome software tools in an interdisciplinary approach to electronically store scenographic renderings and create open access, open source, interactive web-based tools for research and teaching, enabling users to access and exchange information in dynamic new ways. Here are a few renderings and sketches by Oliver Smith that started this project. I was invited by John Calhoun at Lincoln Center to contribute an article to the Theater Library Association Journal about design collections. Our mode of inquiry involved examining the processes the scenographer went through to create the design for a scene. Were alternatives considered? What were the reasons why one version was accepted and others rejected? How did the designer, director, audiences, and critics see the design in its original context of production? What were the theatrical conditions for these modes of seeing? How do we view the work now? Given students' tendency to browse the internet, how can we develop their critical visual and thinking skills? This rendering, actually this is a sketch of the first Oliver Smith slide. The next rendering is for Fall River Legend, and it may be found on ArtStore. The legatee who owns the copyrights was furious when I showed her because she said that ArtStore did not have her permission. She had originally contacted me many years ago looking for an institution to house about 10,000 pieces. We tried the McNay, the Ransom Center, Ohio State, Columbia, and Harvard. All were interested, none had the space. Ultimately, the Library of Congress agreed to accept the collection, but the legatee retains all copyrights and strictly controls contemporary productions of his work. Furthermore, when I asked her if I could use electronic reproductions of Smith's designs, she said no. Fortunately, she gave permission to display 5 renderings to illustrate my article in Performing Arts Research. When students browse the internet or visit sites like ArtStore, they're likely to find images such as this one, which is on the Art Institute of Chicago site. There's Oliver Smith on the left with Jane Bowles and Paul Bowles. Oliver Smith was an important designer who started with Agnes DeMille's Rodeo and was nominated for 25 Tony Awards. Having been denied permission to use the rarely seen renderings of Oliver Smith, I decided to move on to another important American scenographer, Boris Aronson. The first rendering I placed in the exhibit is his iconic design for the original 1955 production of The Diary of Anne Frank, a stage adaptation of the book. I felt it would add a theatrical and artistic grace note to USF's digital collection on the Holocaust. Here's a picture of Aronson holding up his rendering for Pacific Overtures. I contacted his widow, Lisa Aronson, and asked permission to reproduce designs for this exhibit. I had visions of having tea with her in New York and finding original sketches and drawings. Much to my chagrin, she had sold them on consignment to a dealer. I contacted the dealer to see if he recorded any dimensions or media, or any other data for that matter. The best renderings have since disappeared into private hands, but Lisa Aronson passed away last year, and her daughter-in-law contacted me, as you saw in that letter, and gave me continuing permission to use them. This is a homepage of our exhibit. The Omeka software package is inflexible even to those of us with coding experience. A few of us are urging the library to adopt a better exhibit environment. This shows you the lorem ipsum, the dummy text for typesetting that's been around since the 1500s. It survived those centuries and electronic publishing. But this is where we'll create a network for reviews, biographies, critical essays, publications, professional societies, and blogs. This is the original production was in 1964, and you see the metadata. During summer, the database for images and metadata changed from DSpace to Sobek as we were importing that data into Omeka, the exhibit software, and that was a pain. This shows you Tevye's house, the exterior elevation, and Fiddler, by the way, was the first musical theater run in history to surpass 3,000 performances. It held the record for almost 10 years. And here's the very colorful rendering for the wedding scene I just can almost see how the lighting would work in this scene. And Theron Musser, noted light designer, said it was always Boris's vision that prevailed. Here's the next designer that will enter our collection, Ming Lee, and it's hard to overstate, as a matter of fact, his influence on the world of design. A student of his, who's now directs the Yale School of Drama, said that at the Tony ceremonies, 5 of the 6 winners had studied with Mr. Lee. My colleague Arnold Aronson is writing a book about them. Although Ming is an exceptional sketch and rendering artist, he prefers the 3D plasticity of models. This is A Moon for the Misbegotten in 2005. This is Electra, the New York Shakespeare Festival, really a non-literal abstract design. And these were all in an exhibit of his models at the Yale School of Architecture Museum. And this is a model for Carmina Burana, and here's a production photograph of that show. He also worked with Boris Aronson, sees constructivism in his designs, non-objective art. This is The Witch of Endor, and this was done for the Martha Graham Dance Company, 1965. This shows you the letter I received from Betsy Lee. Ming's wife handles all his correspondence, and he says he's much too old to make all these decisions, but I have permission to use a digital image of a model. Evaluation and dissemination. Project objectives hopefully will transform research and publication. There's benefits, innovation in the creation of new knowledge, collaborations and partnerships within and beyond our institution. The legatees approve it. I've done project presentations at ASTR. I'm encouraging students to do papers and undergraduate research projects related to it. Of the 64 authors in the performance studies sections of Scholar Commons, I've received the highest downloads for my 12 papers listed. Theories of the Material Voice, published in Theater Journal, has been downloaded 77 times in the past month. I've published 3 articles since my last summer research grant. An editor for Routledge told me that a print bestseller is 300 copies. This gives an indication of the reach of published papers in addition to the journal circulation. The library can provide statistics on the number of views of digital exhibits, expanding the reach of faculty research.